Thank you everyone for joining us on the Force 4 live stream today, and also welcome to those of you joining us from Chasing Currents channels as well. My name is James Tudor-Williams from Force 4 Chandlery, and joining me today I have Jade and Bryn from Chasing Currents YouTube.
Hey.
Hello Jade and Bryn.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Yourselves?
Yeah, really good. It's really good, thanks.
Yeah.
Good, eh? Jade and Bryn are here today to talk about their adventures so far, from buying a boat with next to no boating knowledge or experience, getting that boat ready, and then embarking on what has been so far, because it's not over, a great adventure, and what they've discovered about sailing to themselves to the point, and boat life along the way. So, Chasing Currents, as I'll call you or refer to you, thank you so much for joining us to chat about your adventures and experience. I'm sure a fair number of people tuning in, especially from your channel, have a pretty good understanding of how your story started. I mean, you've been on channel 4 and talked about it, but to any of our viewers out there or anyone that isn't familiar with you, can you give us a bit of a history lesson on how this all came about and how you got started on what has been an epic adventure so far?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone that's tuning in. So we actually brought Talisman back in 2019, was it?
Yeah, so it's the end of December 2019, and just the very first day of 2020.
Yeah, so we bought Talisman having never sailed before. I had never been even on a sailboat before in my life. So yeah, I was really hoping that I was going to like it. Thankfully I do. And yeah, so we were looking for, kind of a small budget sailboat that we could learn on, and we had this dream of sailing to the Mediterranean, but equally it was kind of just a dream at the start, and then the more time we spent on Talisman, we just enjoyed it so much that we left quite soon, to be honest. I think we'd sailed for about 6 months around the Solent, and then decided to do a 135-hour sail to Falmouth, and then left from Falmouth to Spain. And yeah, just been learning everything along the way. We did a little bit of work on Talisman when we first bought her.
We did some upgrades, some things, because obviously to take a boat offshore would take a little bit more than just a bare boat that probably hasn't really had the upgrades done to it to experience that kind of sailing. So yeah, we did the upgrades, but essentially it was it was about 5-6 years before we even got the boat that the dream really started. But yeah, it's just been a crazy whirlwind adventure so far.
Yeah, we've had to learn all about kind of boat work, boat maintenance, everything from scratch.
Electrical systems, and fouling, and like the best things to use, and what makes good upgrades, and upgrades that maybe aren't as essential but you might want because they're fun. So going through all of that was very, very interesting and great and fun to do.
Yeah, luckily Bryn loves to read massive thick manuals with loads of information, so he's enjoyed it.
It is actually very true. There's nothing better than me learning how something works.
So yeah, it's been a lot of firsts, but we've loved it basically.
Well, you picked the right hobby there. Like you say, coming from Birmingham, you could have gone motorhomes, vans, narrowboats, or whatever else, and you decided on a sailing boat. Well, you're never going to be bored there because there's always something to do and always a bit more to learn.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
And you've got the ocean around you, so it's an ever-changing scenery around you that there's just so much to experience. It's great.
No,
Definitely.
Brilliant. So, if anyone out there has any questions at any point about any of the topics we're covering, or just wants to chat to Chasing Currents at some stage, then feel free to let us know in the live chat. If you're not watching live, you can get onto our YouTube channel, Chasing Currents YouTube channel, might have this video up, your Facebook page, and leave questions and comments there, and either Force 4 or hopefully Jade and Bryn will get back to you.
Yeah, definitely we will.
Right then, so to coin your phrase at the start of your videos, let's get into it. Let's talk about some of your adventures so far. I mean, your YouTube channel and Instagram does an excellent job of capturing all of the special moments, the excitement, the highs and some of the lows of this trip so far. And you touched on it in your intro there. One of the big ones for me, talking about like where your sailing experiences come from, your boating knowledge and what you've been doing, is those 2 big crossings. First one, that jaunt down from the Solent to Falmouth, because you did that in one massive leg. and then going from Falmouth to Spain. So, like, how were those for you? I mean, there's a lot of new things there, I guess, in terms of night sailing, running watches. You know, what were those two big first sails like for you?
I think it's kind of like interesting to like where we'd been sailing already. So we were sailing in the Solent. So like we'd got used to the wind direction changing regularly, the sea changing regularly. We had never done a sail where it was just a nice constant where we could just set things and, you know, it's all on one tack. We hadn't sailed like that before. So I think one of the first things that hit us as soon as we left the Solent was, wow, this is really nice.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't have to turn left, right, and centre all of a sudden. I can just go.
There was no hovercrafts that were crossing our path, or there was it wasn't as busy.
That's true, actually. And I think if anything, it was quite misleading because it was the most perfect sail to this day we still had, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was the first, you know, we'd only ever done, I think maybe a 6-hour sail was the longest we'd ever done before this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't overnight, so it was our first overnight sail. Like you said, our first downwind on a long tack. So and it just went so well. The weather was amazing. It was hot. The water was just dead flat, and we were like, "Oh, this is amazing."
Like
sailing's so easy.
Really give us that confidence boost that we really want.
And then when we were sailing Biscay, which also was amazing, you know, it was much bigger rolling waves. So we were like, oh, okay, this is what it's like. But yeah, it taught us so much, didn't it? Like you said, probably night watches were the biggest, I think, learning curve.
Well, we didn't.
Experience.
I don't think anyone knows the first time they ever do a watch system or the first time they do an overnight passage. You don't know what you're going to be like. You don't know what to expect. Like, you can read things in books, but actually being there and when you're out of sight of land, there's something special happens. And I think that's where you really get to know how you feel about what you're doing. And for us, it was just like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it was just, we loved it.
No, I think that comes across because I think it's Jade is talking about in that first sort of night sail where she's unwatched and she's like, well, I had the iPad ready with films and books and things to read, but just being on the boat in that, it's amazing the different, like you say, you're still doing the same thing, but doing it at night compared to the daytime, the noises, the sounds, the feels, and what's going on around you is just, it's crazy.
Yeah, I thought it would be a little bit eerie, to be honest, because obviously we were on our own at night in the cockpit loads of times, and now we've done it even more. And I thought, oh, am I going to be okay on my own? Like, am I confident that I'll know what to do with the sails, or will I have to keep waking Bryn up every 5 minutes? Like, oh, what was that noise? But it's actually
and vice versa. If I was ever going to wake Jade up, like, what was that noise?
And it's actually like just the best feeling. Like, we actually, I think, prefer night sailing when it's a good night of like clear stars, and I think the quiet and, you know, especially when you can't see land, it's such a unique feeling, and we both love it, don't we? We loved Biscay for that.
I think you're right. If a night sail, I mean, there's nothing quite like a sunset or a sunrise on open water. It's insane. And like you say, the sky. And if you're in a patch of water where you don't have to worry too much about boats around you or lobster pots or anything else, it is just a pretty magical sort of thing to be doing. So
definitely.
It's good that you like enjoyed it and got involved in it all and everything else. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, which is testament to how far this adventure has gone and is going. Another thing that stood out to me, I mean, as relative amateurs, this must have been, well, a couple of weeks into big sails, or, you know, your journey across the Biscay, you've experienced stuff that even some of the most seasoned sailors and boaters that I know have never experienced. I mean, you had your props fouled by fishing nets, and then to double up on that, you were harassed by a rogue pod of Portuguese killer whales.
Yeah. I think it definitely taught us the whole ups and downs thing that sailors talk about.
Yeah.
It was almost immediately, wasn't it, that we had the fin whale and the fishing net.
Yeah, so like that was literally we were playing chess.
Yeah.
Looked out the back of the boat and there was a big long green net that was following us. And we sorted that problem out as best we could. There was still about 1.5 foot of net around the prop. So we was like, okay, we can sail. We're a sailboat. We'll leave that until the seas are calmer and we'll sort it out at another time. And it was literally like an hour later, and there was like a pod of fin whales, which were huge. They were like so big. And they came and visited us, and we totally just lost it, didn't we?
Yeah, we were screaming. We were so excited.
Yeah.
I mean, understandable. Again, that's something that I know loads of people that have been on the water for a number of years and probably haven't seen something like that. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think even obviously with the orcas, obviously it was and wasn't unexpected. I mean, we obviously didn't expect it to happen to us, but we'd read about it and we were very aware of other sailboats cruising through the area that had damaged rudders or different interactions with orcas. So we were aware of it, but obviously you don't really think anything would ever happen to you. You're just like, oh, it's fine.
It's a big ocean. There's lots of boats.
Yeah, exactly. Our little boat, that wouldn't come to us. And I think it was all very heightened as well, because, you know, we were already becalmed. It was middle of the night. There's fog, and we were in like a really, really busy area where there were so many cargo ships and fishing vessels, and
fishing boats.
And we were radioing them, and they weren't responding. So it was it was a stressful situation, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was very stressful. But we kind of just followed the advice of switch everything off, so the orcas don't get angered by anything, I guess.
Or whether just, you know, to instigate any extra interaction that, you know, you might not want.
So
we basically switched everything off, stayed quiet, and even though like scared at the time, looking back, we sometimes think, do you know what, that was an orca whale, so cool as well to be that close, and they're really intelligent. Like, it was just amazing to have an experience with them where, you know, fortunately nothing happened to the boat. The boat was fine. So it was.
We spoke about it after, didn't we? And like, orca whales, they've always been Bryn's favourite animal since he was a kid. Like Free Willy, you're obsessed with Free Willy, aren't you? So like, orcas were your favourite animal, and we were a bit like obviously gutted that it had happened in that situation, and we didn't quite get to appreciate. You know, we could hear them calling underneath the boat to each other, like we could hear them communicating, and that kind of stuff is just absolutely amazing to witness. But we were just so like scared in the moment, we didn't like appreciate it.
I have to say that point in the video, Jane, where you're talking about it and you're saying you can hear the whizzing and the clicks and the this, that, and the other, I'll be like, I just feel a bit like a sardine in a tin right now.
You feel very small. You feel very, very small and like, useless, don't you, in that moment?
And especially like them moving the boat around. And
Right. We've been smashed with questions. I'm not normally smashed with questions, so I'm going to ask a couple now.
Thanks, everyone.
People. But the last one now, whilst we hit a nice little natural break. First question then from, I don't know who it's from, I apologize, someone out there. Did you have, or who inspired you, or who was your biggest inspiration to sort of start sailing adventures? Oh, there we go, from Sailing Indiana.
Hey guys.
Hey.
I think, well, at the start it was mainly YouTube sailors, wasn't it? Because we were watching a lot of YouTube sailing channels at the beginning, and I think it was Sailing Le Vagabond were the first that we watched. I'm sure like lots and lots of other people as well have been inspired by them guys, but it was the first real time we'd ever seen anything where living on a sailboat and traveling on the sea was a viable option. We'd never heard of anything like it before, so that was our first introduction to it. I'd say since then, like we even now, we're still getting inspired by so many people who are doing these amazing things, like crossing the Atlantic or doing the wrong way around the Southern Ocean. Like, I'm just thinking that's insane. And there's a girl called Kate, I think she's 14, and she's solo things like
around
that.
The UK, like, there's so many inspirational people to take, you know, these amazing experiences and to support them on it as well. I think it's but the first one was Le Vagabond. That was our first introduction. We never knew it existed before then, being from Birmingham.
All right, we'll do more questions later, I promise everyone. I'll try and ask all your questions. Let's go back in time a bit to getting Talisman. Obviously you looked at her and you fell in love with her and you knew that was going to be your boat, but you were also very aware that she isn't necessarily equipped or geared out to do this kind of trek or to live aboard. I mean, that's the other thing you got to take. You live aboard of it. So you obviously had to make some upgrades and bits and bobs. Which of these upgrades do you think made the most difference to your sailing experience?
Go on.
Okay, so I'd say there is a combination of the upgrade. I don't think there's anyone that is the best upgrade because they all play such a vital part. But having AIS and
that's
radar,
what I was going to say.
a lot of people say you don't need it to sail, and do you know what? You don't need it to sail. But again, it depends. I find that if we were sailing in a common place that we already know quite well, it wouldn't be as necessary because you get used to the dangers that are around you. But going into new territories for pretty much every time you leave the harbour, leave the marina, every single time's a new journey. Having radar and having AIS, just it gives the confidence of it's just information. It is just information to have around you.
Plus, down the Portuguese coast, we used radar quite a lot for fishing pots, didn't we?
It was.
We had so much fog, and almost every day was fog down the Portuguese coast, wasn't it, for us?
And I feel like there was so many people saying it's not essential, it's not essential. And if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have sailed down the Portuguese coast as in the same times that we did, because we wouldn't have gone out in fog without a radar.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
So it enabled us to have that experience as well, to go out in fog. You can use these tools, and I think that's what they're good for. But one of the first things that I think was really, really good and useful was the lazy jacks. Like we didn't know at the time exactly how lazy jacks, how good they were, until we really wished we had them.
Pretty much,
and when you're out in a bit of a blow and pulling the sail down is getting really tricky and it's hanging over one side and you're like, this is a nightmare. And then lazy jacks makes that so much easier.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think the other thing I was going to say that we've used probably more than anything is the tiller pilot.
That is a yes.
So that's something super useful. And then as well, in terms of like living, you said obviously it's for a liveaboard. We upgraded the water tanks pretty early on, and that's amazing, isn't it? That's something we really couldn't have done without, because obviously we want to be away from shore and marine as much as possible. So that means we can stay off grid a bit longer, which is awesome.
Yeah.
No, I like the standout one for me. I mean, obviously you've done your electronics upgrades, which without having, like you say, until you experience fog and you didn't have radar and you do have radar, being in those conditions is a bit like, oh. But now you have the confidence where you can see these things, and not everything has AIS. I mean, your lobster pots, the coastline.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can gauge where you are with your radar and that.
Yeah.
And like, it's just anything to make life easy. It doesn't just because it doesn't have that doesn't mean it shouldn't have that. Just
that's true.
You don't want to be stressed. You want to enjoy yourselves.
I think one of the caveats with the amount of equipment we put on our boat is we didn't have the knowledge of sailing and the experience. But what we could do is we could use data that was given to us and make an educated choice. So when we can see the wind speed, it's not that you need to know that for sailing. You can sail without it, but it told us when we need to. We could make rules for ourselves when to reef. And like the B&G system was just so useful for that. And I think there's always that worry that people say, well, if you have a lot of technology, you become reliant on it. But we really try hard to, we still make educated choices, and we use it as a tool that helps us essentially.
That's true.
No, brilliant. And I think something that really comes across in your videos is your attitude to all of this and undertaking the trip as a whole. And you've mentioned it in chats that we've had, getting prepared for this and talking on email and stuff, that you had as many people suggest you shouldn't do this journey or that you're a bit mental as you did. Go for it. Don't be mental. Why not? How would you describe your approach to undertaking this and sort of getting ready for this trip and the stages of the trip?
I think it was kind of a mix of staying inspired to do it, even despite of obviously all those people that are saying don't do it. We were always watching like small boats crossing the Atlantic and small boats doing this, and like budget cruisers doing this. So kind of just reminding ourselves that it's not impossible. It's just going to be more challenging, but finding ways around it to make it achievable. And then I think the other thing is just preparation, probably a lot of preparation,
reading, and just literally just the legwork to learn about what you're about to embark on, essentially.
I think a lot of people might just think we're like, let's just Just go and have a go, see what happens. And we do a little bit,
yeah.
But also, like, we're very aware, and we've done as much research as we can, haven't we, on the routes we're doing, and we've done like day skipper and competent crew courses as well now. So we've kind of learn as much of the theory as we can, so we can kind of handle situations better, and we know what to do to keep us safe, I think.
Yeah, exactly. The more prepping, the easier the job becomes. In fact, there was one thing you've said a while ago about Biscay, and like the anticipation of Biscay, and the mindset that comes with it. But also, we'd prepared so hard for that crossing that actually it was easier than we expected in some ways, because we'd over prepared.
Yeah, we thought everything was going to go wrong. So when not everything went wrong, we were like, yes, that's okay.
Yeah, that's a success.
Just a fishing net, just orcas, that's cool.
Yeah.
Of all on the list of disasters, they're low down. That's fine.
Yeah, no storms. Like, it was okay.
But also, like, in one of your other videos, like when you'd actually made it to Portugal, it's the one your 5 days at anchor. When you're at Anchorage, you're like, well, the weather window's not there, and you could go in it.
Yeah.
And some people might have, but you're also why put ourselves in that situation? We can be patient. We're not on a deadline. So I think that comes across as well, that you're not going out of your way to be like, we need to be here and we're going to come hell or high water or force sakes or whatever else we need to be sailing. You're quite happy to be like, no, we're having a nice time. We can take our time and enjoy ourselves, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the main reason we chose this lifestyle as well is because we want to enjoy it. Yeah. Like, we're not doing a race, and we want it to be like a lifestyle that we can keep up for a long time and enjoy. Yeah. So like you said, I don't think we push ourselves more than we need to, probably.
No, I think the more you scare yourself, the more you can put yourself off something, and the more you enjoy it, the more you want to keep doing it. So we choose to try and go out in the best conditions possible and have the best times, and then we'll keep going and keep going, essentially.
So we'll do another question that kind of fits in around what we've been talking about. And again, I'm sure Elisa in the background will pop it up. What do you think your biggest limitations are? Is it the boat and the equipment, or sailing Indiana again, or your skills and knowledge, or somewhere between the two?
Definitely a bit of both, I would say.
Yeah, it's both.
I'm kind of leaning more towards skills and knowledge, but I don't know if that's just me putting us down. But I think it's a mix of both, isn't it? 'Cause, in terms of boat and equipment, I guess there's a few more things we'd want to do for a crossing, probably.
Yeah.
But I do think we could get our boat to that stage. It would just need maybe a little bit more money and a bit more time for the upgrades, probably.
I think the one thing we can't kid ourselves is our boat is not built purposely to be an ocean crossing boat.
Yeah, it's not a blue water cruiser.
It's not a blue water cruiser. Not. We're just going to do it kind of anyway, maybe. But you've got to be safe. So pick the weather windows, and like you say, there's a couple of upgrades that would potentially help us with that. But yeah, it's the limitation I find is how big the sea and the storm could be for the boat itself.
Yeah,
I think equipment wise, we are pretty good with equipment. And our own limitations is experience. The more we're out there, the more confidence we'll get, and the more we'll learn how to handle certain situations. Yeah,
getting more confident, and if ever we did get in that situation, like how to handle heavy weather and like storm tactics and all that kind of stuff. Thankfully we haven't needed yet, but we'll definitely want to learn more about that.
Yeah. We might try and go on someone else's boat to learn heavy weather.
Sensible, I like that. And I was going to say the Mediterranean might be peaceful and calm in terms of tides, but it can blow out of nowhere, very heavy. So
yeah, we've heard that.
Just be aware. But so on the back of all the careful preparation and your patient approach, and just like you say, not trying to put yourself in situations you don't need to be in.
Yeah.
What has there been unexpected surprises or things that have caught you out still? And like, I guess the counter, has there been unexpected surprises or things that have lived up to expectations, or you felt like you nailed it, or there's something you couldn't imagine, or I don't know, like highs and lows? What's caught you out? What hasn't? What's been good? What's been bad?
I think I'll start with the good. I think like probably how we've worked together on the boat, just the two of us, because obviously we had no idea, because we'd never been on a sailboat, you know, for a long time together. So when we did the Biscay particularly, we were like, okay, this is going to be like 5 days at sea, just the two of us. We don't know what's going to happen, how we're going to find it.
Yeah.
And I think we've both just adapted to it better than I thought we would. Like I thought we would, but it's just been even more enjoyable, hasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
And like if something has gone wrong, we've kind of naturally just fell into different roles and figured it out. Maybe
staying calm and like just like working through things in a good way. But there's no guarantee. You don't know how you're going to act until things happen. So yeah, that's a good one.
And I think also just we've enjoyed the sailing so much more than we even knew we would.
Yeah.
Because for us, weirdly, this might sound really random, but we were like, okay, you know, the sailboat life and traveling, but then the actual sailing itself was almost second to the lifestyle.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, because the sailboat was like the vessel, and it's like, you know, a free way of traveling in terms of the wind.
The most expensive free way
of
traveling.
Exactly. So yeah, we weren't really sure, but we've enjoyed the sailing bit so much, like the practicing sail trim and you know, using different sails, and you know, that part's been so much fun.
Yeah, not just about being on the boat at anchor.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. The actual journey itself
has
been as much.
Seeing how things affect, like, you know, your speed and your comfort, and we've enjoyed that side of it, haven't we?
And we're still learning. We can't wait now to like get back. We've been doing loads of reading and listening to podcasts about people that are talking about sail trim, and we just want to get out back to put it into practice. Go sailing.
Squeeze every knot out of that boat. We gotta
I was even thinking when we go back, I was like, no, we have like an eroding anti-foul, and I was like, should we get a hard anti-foul? Are we a racing boat?
We are not a racing
boat.
Yeah, just because it's hard, it doesn't actually necessarily make it go faster. But we do have speed polish, so
quite a bit of that on.
Yeah, a little bit of speed polish.
What about unexpected, do you think?
So there's a few. I'll start. One of the first things we come across that was unexpected, and it was just about learning the weather and how tides and currents work. And it was wind over tide, and springs and neaps. I know this is taught in like sailing schools and things like that, but being taught it and then being caught out in it, it teaches you the lesson really, really fairly. And I'd say that was a lesson that we learned early, that I would probably be more willing to take a little bit more of a risk on a neap tide than I would on a spring tide. If there was a spring tide and I was trying to make it round a headland, or if I knew there was an acceleration zone, I'd probably be a little bit more cautious. And if the weather wasn't absolutely perfect, I'd maybe go, let's wait a few days, or let's see what happens later on. But if it was a neap, I might go, yeah, do you know what? It might be okay. Let's go for it. And I kind of it's learning those little things, and you don't know them things when you first start until you go through them. But again, unexpected. The orcas, that was unexpected.
The amount of fog.
That was unexpected.
That's just unbelievable, the amount of foggy. I don't think anyone sailed down an entire coast in fog.
That fog followed us, didn't it? It was targeting us.
There was people like 2 weeks behind us who had beautiful sunshine and almost flat seas, and we were like, why?
So we got our money's worth out of the radar. That's what
it was. Yeah, it wanted to show us exactly what our equipment was made of.
I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised, but I was amazed that. I mean, you see, I know you were very excited when you saw dolphins, but actually, even sailing around the Solent and down the West Country, dolphins aren't that rare. But a fin whale, bloody second largest mammal on the planet, or whatever it is, attacked by orcas. You've seen blue sharks, which is, again, as far as I'm aware, is a pretty deep water cruising shark. Don't normally see them. Like the wildlife that you've seen has been mind blowing to me. I'm a bit of a wildlife geek myself, but
it was one of the things that I think we got into it for, was the wildlife. Before we brought a boat or anything like that, I'd actually wrote a list in a notebook of wildlife that I wanted to see on the sea, and a fin whale was actually in that, and we managed to tick that one off pretty early, which was incredible.
We did not think we would see that. Yeah, that was we were just overwhelmed by that. It was crazy, wasn't it?
Even the blue sharks, that, like you say, they're a pelagic species. They're an open water species. You can go to football and you can go out in a boat and you can find them. But we saw them in a marina.
Literally about 30 of them, wasn't there? That was in a marina.
It was like 30 in a marina. And I did some checking on some research papers, which is something else I like to do if I find something really interesting. Is someone already looking at this? And they don't know exactly what's causing it. But yeah, the pups of the blue sharks have been moving inshore rather than staying out in the open water. So I found that really interesting.
Yeah,
it was just awesome to see them, and they're really cute blue sharks.
The colours are amazing.
So cool. It's just incredible. Another question then on the back of our little wildlife chat. See how I crowbarred that in there. After your orca experience, do you feel like your judgment, or did you form an opinion about whether they were being aggressive or playful, or do you just think they were? Yeah. What do you think it was an act of attack, or were they just being there?
I think because obviously we'd heard that they were specifically targeting rudders most of the time, and we kind of noticed they weren't around our rudder, were they? They were more on the hull, or they were on the side of the boat, kind of nudging either side, and then one was at the front and one was at the back, pivoting the boat, spinning the boat. But they weren't specifically targeting the rudder. Bryn had his hand on the rudder, and
I weren't like holding it. I was just keeping my hand placed so it didn't move in the water too much.
Yeah. So I think probably now, maybe they were curious more than attacking, do you think? Or what would you say?
It was also at night. And I'm not exactly sure how good their eyesight is at night. So I don't know whether they knew the front from the back, or you don't know any of these things. So it's hard to put a true judgment on it. I think they probably were more playful than aggressive. If they really wanted to make a statement, they easily could have, and they didn't.
Yeah, when you've seen what they're capable of, and like the damage they can cause.
Yeah, they can cause a lot of damage on a boat, and they didn't do that. So that I'm pretty certain this was just inquisitive.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that, you know, an animal that size, they could cause damage being inquisitive.
That's true.
They're very big. Yeah, like you say. I mean, I know like the Atlantic rowers get the problem. I doubt it's a thing that you would have. Like I kind of say that's why they would have been doing it to you. But obviously, the Atlantic rowing boats, open water, they get the schools of fishes appear under them, don't they? So they get island strike because there's a food source under this nice dark thing. We'll just bash into it. I can't imagine that there's a whole heap of fish or target species for an orca to be around you. So I guess it must be like, what's this thing and what's it doing here? And like you say, they weren't. You weren't bitten, or like the boat wasn't attacked or bitten or dragged around. So
I think one of the things that can draw any sea mammals in is you've got a depth reader, and that sends a pulse. So the sonar, all the animals that are sensitive to sonar, they can hear that. So if they wanted to be inquisitive, this is why dolphins might find you, or pilot whales might come up and cruise and just be like, "Oh, who's this? Let's check them out." But again,
I recognise the accent.
Yeah, they're like, these are Brummies. No, they're not from reindeer. So like, there's that side of things as well that can draw them in. And with fishing boats, you know, you get a different behaviour when it comes to fishing boats because they're trying to get the food essentially, and you know that's a nice easy meal if it's already on a line.
No, that makes sense. So in this chat so far, we've touched about you living aboard and the fact that Talisman isn't just for cruising, you live aboard and everything else. And one of the videos that like particularly sort of interested us at Force 4, being a chandlery and a retailer, was your video about top items for living off grid on board or just, you know, making life comfortable on board as well.
Yeah.
So, and I think you did that probably when you just got to Spain, Portugal. So, and you've been living on it and doing a lot more since. I mean, is your list by and large still the same, or is there any new things you've had since that video that you're thinking about updating or looking at, or is there any products that you're looking at getting in the future again that you think, oh, we need this moving forward?
Go on.
So I would say there's items that we really think are really good, and like I say, for living on the boat, and there's items that we got early on and we're glad that we got them. We think we made the right choices. So one of them was a Rockner anchor.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've used that so much.
Yeah, and to note, well, like when we first stayed at anchor, even with a Rockner anchor, we took it in shifts because we'd never anchored before. We didn't know whether we could do it. So now we've built our confidence up, and it's just so comforting to know. And now we've dived on the anchor as well. So when we've been in winds like 35 knots, and then when everything calms down, I'll dive on the anchor and I can see it's not budged at all. And I'm like, wow, this is a very, very good, important piece of kit. The other thing that we got early on was solar panels, and that's been incredible as well in terms of being able to be off grid and not have our engine on, charging batteries up and stuff. But also like the solar panel mounts, we got those off you guys as well, because we just couldn't find a really good way of mounting them so that we could angle them towards the sun and get the most out of them. So that was also really good. What else was there?
I think we've got a few things that make living a bit more comfortable, like the dry mat we got quite early on, and the like anti-condensation things. That's been really good. Fans, we actually need to use our fans now, which is awesome on the boat because we're actually warm sometimes. But in terms of like other things for the list, I think we're quite keen on getting a new dinghy, aren't we, as well? Because ours is just too big for our boat. We've struggled with that, haven't we? Keep inflating that, deflating that, and lugging it on and off the boat. So I think we quite want a lighter, smaller dinghy.
We've actually seen one that we like as well.
So
it's a nice light dinghy, and we might be in touch with you.
We can talk off there.
Radio, ship's radio.
Yeah, so our ship's radio, it actually started failing during Biscay, so we've now upgrading that as well to something that we think is going to be a lot more useful with another receiver unit that can go in the cockpit, because it's nice to be able to not have to go down to the nav station when you need to use it. I
think some sun cover as well is something we really need to sort out this season.
Now we're in the Mediterranean and the sun, that is definitely something we're
starting to get fried, aren't we, on sails?
Yes.
I can imagine. You need to run something from your boom to your to the back, and then you can just drape it over there. Probably be the easiest way. But
we've got something like that for when we're anchored or when we stopped, but when we're sailing, because most of our sails have been like 8+ hours, and if it's really, really sunny, we have to take it in turns and keep going inside.
Just wear your foulies.
No, never again.
Okay, wicked. Well, it's nice to know that most of the stuff that you've got still holds up.
Yeah, definitely.
It's obvious that there's a few areas that need improving, but they're not dramatic. It doesn't inhibit you from doing what you're doing. Again, it just makes life easier, which is nice. Personally, I was aware of who you were, because we are always aware sort of about who's doing what. But getting ready for this, I've had to watch a lot of your videos. And
sorry about that.
It hasn't been a hardship in any way, shape, or form. It's been a real joy to watch them. And you've done an excellent job sort of vlogging your journey and keeping track of what you've been doing. And if viewers are keen to see more, remember, check out YouTube, Chasing Currents, or Instagram at Chasing Currents. Have you found that doing the videos, producing the videos and the vlog, other than a great way to stay in touch with friends and family back home, does it give you something to, long distance sailing can be a bit boring, but I mean, it's amazing you're in new places all the time, but does this give you something to focus on whilst doing the adventure, keep you sort of engaged with the trip, like keeps you excited and engaged with the trip as much as anything else?
I was going to say, I think it definitely does. Definitely on long sails, it's really, really good on that, isn't it? 'Cause it works a bit like a video diary as well, so you can kind of just like say whatever you're feeling, and then it's good to, when you look back, because obviously it's a bit of a blur when you've done a crossing or a long sail, so it's nice to be able to look back and be like, okay, that is exactly how I felt in that moment, or that's exactly what was happening, and it's nice to have that. I think
a lot of people they write in a journal. A lot of sailors that we've spoke to, they have a journal of their trips. This is just our version of a journal, and I'm dyslexic, so I don't really like writing. Video is much easier for me.
I think as well, like actually it pushes us to do more in a way. Do you think?
Yeah, because we want, like, we enjoy, so we've made videos for pretty much the whole time we've been together 11 years, and we've made videos almost since we were first together.
Yeah, just like silly little videos that like no one's ever going to see.
Yeah,
you know, just like
we're not showing it.
Yeah.
But like we used to go camping in the Brecon Beacons and Snowdonia or a forest, and we'd film it, and like it'd just be for us, and we just enjoyed it. So this is like an evolution of what we used to do, but now a lot of people see it.
Yeah, and it like pushes us, I think, to do more like different stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Keeps us inspired, and yeah, we love it. It's like a good creative outlet for us as well.
And we get to research places before we get to them and see what's really cool, and yeah, it's really
I think they're really well done, and they are. If people haven't watched them, I mean, I started at the beginning and haven't watched the last couple. I mean, spoiler alert, people, they're not in the UK or Gibraltar anymore.
We're not.
But yeah, no, it's been a real joy to watch, and they are really well done. So I just wanted to see what it was like for you doing them, but just a bit of credit that they are great, and people should go and watch them. It's really nice.
Oh, thanks so much, James. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's all right, no worries. So everyone who's following your adventures will now be aware. When I wrote this, they weren't. Will now be aware that you are back in the UK currently. The boat is in Spain. You're home for a couple of months over the winter.
Yeah.
What are the future plans for Chasing Currents? Where are you going? Will you get back to Spain? What are the plans? Where are you off to?
Well, I think actually Dave has just asked this question. Where is the next voyage as well? But we're planning to go back to Talisman around late March, maybe early April. And yeah, we definitely want to explore the Balearics, Sardinia. We've got a lot of plans, haven't we, next season? I'm not sure how far we're going to get, but we've got a lot of plans.
Yeah, it's exciting, and we're looking forward to, like you said, Balearics, Corsica, Sardinia, Italy. Essentially, we're going to the east of the Med. We're going to Greece. We might winter, maybe. We don't set plans because they never always happen on a sailboat. But we have ideas, and if they tend to venture in that way, then awesome. So we might, go to Turkey, Albania, Croatia. We just venture in that way, and we just want to enjoy the best sailing that we can and see some amazing things. And I've got my animal checklist that I want to diving and like walking up some mountains. And
so much we want to see. I think it'll all kind of obviously it'll be working around the Brexit situation. Means has
Brexit made the journey any more difficult or harder?
I think you have to think about it a lot more. Thankfully, there is a way around it. Basically, we can only spend 90 days in an EU zone, and then we need to spend 90 days out of the Schengen zone. Sorry. So there is some areas in the Mediterranean where you can reset your Schengen visa. So Albania, Croatia, I believe, Montenegro, Turkey,
and Gibraltar.
Nice.
So we'll just kind of do the little Schengen shuffle. We'll spend like 90 days. Balearics, Sardinia.
I'd say, is it hard? No. Has it made it harder?
Yeah, it's made it harder.
Yes. It's made it harder because you have to do these things now. If we wanted to stay in Greece for a year, we can no longer just do that without getting a visa.
That's the other thing. We might be able to get year-long visas for somewhere like Greece.
Yeah, you can do it. Well, for I think the countries, they offer visas. If you qualify, you can get them. But it's just thinking about those things a little bit more now.
So just adds a level of preparation rather than makes you think, oh, we can't do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's still doable, which is good.
Another question on the back of your future plans and from the chat. I'm doing my best to get to them all, people. I'm sorry if I've missed you. Are you ever going to hit the Pacific? And if so, what islands would you want to go to in the Pacific? Have you thought that far ahead? Are we crossing oceans?
Can I take this one?
You can take this one. What were we talking about yesterday? Literally yesterday.
So it would be, I think once we've done this little trip through the Mediterranean, we would then be, and I don't want to throw too much out into there, but you got to aim for something. We'll be looking at doing an Atlantic crossing then.
So you want to go in and back out, basically?
Yes. Yeah. So then, we'll be going Canaries and then across, hopefully, if all goes well. Once we've explored and enjoyed as much time as we would like in those areas and done that sort of sailing, 100% we want to go to the Pacific.
Yeah, that would be a dream. We would love that.
I've been looking at routes. So I know there's someone who watches our videos who's in Hawaii.
Yeah, aloha.
Aloha. So I would absolutely love to sail like from California up to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then I would look at the route of then going south to the Pacific Islands like Fiji and around French Polynesia. So
definitely
insane.
Yeah, and what again? It's the wildlife, like, and the people. It just looks like such a rich culture that we're really interested in. We
100%.
essentially want to see everything around the world.
Yeah.
I was going to say the surf, but you sailed through Nazare or whatever it is, and that's got the biggest waves in the world. And if you're fine there, you'll probably be fine in the Pacific.
I think there's a bit of a story with that when we went across. So we'd obviously prepared for that sail, and I was just coming off shift as we was going into the channel of Nazare. So obviously that's where the waves can build to the most that they can. And I just kind of said to Jade, I was like, okay, so if you look on the chart, we're just going into Nazare now. Here's the channel. If the waves get really big, just wake me up. And
I was half asleep at this time because I just come off shift, so I totally forgot where we even were. And I was like, okay, no worries. And it did build quite a lot, actually, didn't it? But
it did build through the night. Luckily, she didn't wake me up. I had a really good sleep.
Yeah, it was dark, so I couldn't see the waves. Luckily,
part of the joy of being on the boat is you can't sit down and watch like Riding Giants or 100-foot wave or whatever it is and see these waves crash out.
Exactly.
I recognise that lighthouse. I had another question that I was going to ask you on the back of this. Oh, actually, no, it's going to be on the back of the next question. So, like, I can't reiterate enough. It's been a real joy talking to you both, getting to know you both, like this back and forth. A few of these meetings that we've had, it's been great. Yeah. And your passion for what you're doing really shines through, considering, like you say, as newcomers or people that have never done it, you didn't even know if you were going to enjoy it. And you talk about, you love the sailing as much as the being where you are. And it might be a bit of a cliche or anything else, but do you have advice, or what would you say to anyone thinking about doing the same sort of journey or trying to start their own sort of adventure?
Do you want to go first?
I'd say, so if you've never been on a boat, you can just buy a boat and start sailing and see how you get on that way, which is what we kind of did. But I would also say, now we've got more into it, we can see the community of it, and you can
so helpful.
Yeah, there's loads of people that are willing to, just give you bits of advice, give you a helping hand.
You can crew on their vessels.
You can crew on their boats. You can join a sailing club. There's so many ways in which you can get on the water and start your adventure. And then if your dreams are big, you can do the same thing. I'd say, if you're into the big adventure, do the preparation, like do the learning, and we might not show it all the time, but we do a lot of research before we go into one of these things to be as safe as possible. But yeah, it's doable.
Yeah, I think I would say that as well, but I think I saw someone earlier ask a question. I think they asked what our budget was or how much we had when we left or something like that. And that kind of ties in. I would say probably the number one thing that people have said to us, the reason like they can't do it or we can't do it is because the money. People are like, you can't afford it, it's like a millionaire's thing, or like you just need a lot of money, and we literally set off with £2,000, didn't we, in the bank account? £2,000 in our bank account is what we set off with. Our boat cost £7,000.
The upgrades and stuff.
Yeah,
was all.
The upgrades. I think in total we spent 25, didn't we?
No, I think it was less than
20.
That.
I can't remember now.
It might have been
we
15.
Did do a costing video that might be useful, but So I think that's the thing for us, was that like save as much as you can. Obviously it will make it easier, and if something happens, you can pay for it and keep going, but don't let it stop you. You can kind of just figure something out on the way. Like when we paid for our rescue, we were like, okay, cool, we're going to need to fly home and just earn some money and then pick up again when we've got the money. But thankfully, our YouTube and we had like some support on our Buy Me a Coffee, which was insane. Like we didn't expect. But I think we would never have let it stop us, like the money aspect. We'd just find a way to earn the money along the way and just keep doing it that way. So I think different things will suit different people, but it shouldn't be an obstacle to not do it, if you know what I mean.
I think as well, with your happiness to live off grid, even like you say, your boat doesn't have running water, things like that, so you don't have shower, you can wash and everything, but you don't have like creature comforts. But being able to be off grid, and Europe feels like they do it, or like at least the main European coast, France and Spain, feel like they do it a lot better in terms of it's affordable to either marinas aren't as expensive.
Yeah.
They're generally not expensive. There's plenty of anchorages you can pick up. If you're in a river or somewhere else, you can pick up a buoy, and by and large, the worst you get is you're on my buoy. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'll move over to the next one. So I think you're right. If you can, and remember, people, this is in their bank account. They don't carry money on board. Don't go and pirate them. If you're prepared to live off grid and not need certain things, you can do it very affordably.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Obviously, we know that the way we do things wouldn't be for everyone. You know, our boat's quite small, and like you said, we don't have all the creature comforts. But if you're someone that's just happy to have the adventure, you know, without those things, then absolutely just go for it. There is like nothing stopping you.
No.
And like you said, even with marinas, you know, that's the other good thing about a smaller boat is you're always paying the lowest rate.
Yes.
So that's always good. And like you said, even in anchorages, and we can kind of anchor in some slightly different spots that bigger boats can't anchor in. Things like that. But yeah, just go for it. 100% is the advice I think we'd say.
Pretty much, yeah. It's the choice of having the adventure now or later, and we always choose now.
Yeah.
Well, I think like power to you, get credit. I mean, you said it, and we only touched on it a bit because I'm sure from like the Channel 4 documentary series that people should go and check out, and the start of your videos, you talked about yourselves as people being into traveling, being abroad, and not needing that because you have like you say, the experience, the adventure, the place and location where you are. And I think again that, you know, if people really want to get involved in that, that's what they need to think about. What do you need to be happy or be content compared to what you want? So no, I think it's really
definitely.
good. Yep. Again, part of this or on the back of this, I'll ask a question. What was the hardest part about your sail and being away from home for as long as you were?
Oh, the hardest part of the sail. I don't know. What would you say?
The hardest part of the sailing, I would say, is getting used to how the boat feels in a bigger sea. For me, that was my thing of trying to keep my confidence with the boat. It wasn't that I'd lost any confidence. I just don't know where the boat's limits are.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Trying to figure out the limits without feeling like we're putting ourselves in danger. Because I would really enjoy just going out sailing as much as possible. But obviously I know our boat does have limitations, so I'm just trying to, you know, figure that out, and that's probably been one of the harder parts for me. And
just as well how it feels, even when it's not like, you know, a bad sea, when it's just like 1.5 meter waves or something, but you know they're on the beam, and how uncomfortable it feels on our boat. And how, like, even, you know, on a longer sail, it almost becomes like, I don't know, it's more tiring because of the constant like motion of you know, our boat. And then as well, like obviously you had a few bouts of seasickness, didn't you?
So I've learned that my seasickness, I don't actually get sick, I just get very lethargic.
Everyone's gonna laugh at this. I've seen a few comments of people saying, "Oh, Bryn found it easy because he slept the whole way." I've just seen a few of them.
Yeah, they're kind of right. That was one of the things that I didn't expect. But yeah, I just get this like really lethargic feeling. And pretty much just made me want to sleep all the time.
Yeah, no, like I say, sleep through it. Get it. Weirdly, the most seasick I've ever got was in the Biscay. We'd just come out of La Rochelle, and we had loads of fog, visibility of about 3 meters, and it was like a mirror. So you just had no reference for like the tiniest little rock. It was horrible. Just laid across a tow rail, just leave me here, I'll die. And otherwise, it's like if you've been in big seas, and I mean, you're on board a lot, so maybe it doesn't become a thing, but it's when you get off and you're still swaying.
We still get that for sure.
From me.
Sometimes I actually still really like that feeling when it happens.
A little bit drunk.
I'm like,
just ride it out. What another question then? What are you looking forward to about next season, or most about next season? And a follow-up question: buddy boating. So I'm guessing that's from one of your friends who can't wait for you guys to get back out there.
Oh, that's got to be Brendan and Cara on tonic, I reckon.
Maybe.
Of course, buddy boating is the main thing we're looking forward to. I think probably underwater adventures are something we're really looking forward to more next season. Because the majority of this season has obviously been sailing and traveling, which we've loved, but it's been cold waters, especially North Spain and down Portugal. It's been quite cold, so we haven't done as much kind of free diving and diving as we'd have hoped. And then we're seeing so many amazing places next season that I think we should be able to have some cool diving adventures and film all of that.
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to that. What are you looking forward to most?
So that was probably these are both on the same level, what Jade just said, but then also the getting into some really good sailing. So I feel like up until this point we've kind of not winged it, but we've been learning on the job. And next season I want to become a much better sailor. I want to be able to learn how to trim and to get the most out of what we're doing without pushing the boat. I don't want to push the boat to the limits. I don't have them kind of interests, but I want to do things well.
Want to use the spinnaker, don't we?
I want to use the spinnaker. We've never used the spinnaker.
Get the kite up.
We've still got to learn how to do that, and we need to know whether I don't even know what spinnaker it is we got, like whether it's an asymmetric. So I'm looking forward to all these things to do with sailing and going through it and learning the process.
Yeah.
I'm just going to run through some questions before we go. Yeah. I know you did. So you had your did you have insurance for all of your trip? And I know this from having talked to you, you didn't have it for one section, and that's a bit annoying because if you had, your call out wouldn't have been such a hit for you, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We had it our insurance ended when we left when we left Falmouth, didn't it? So our Biscay crossing wasn't insured, and then the insurance started again when we checked into Spain. So unfortunately, Biscay wasn't insured at all, and that was just because we couldn't get insurance. Basically, they weren't willing to insure just us two on our boat.
Yeah.
So they said if we had a third crew member, we could get insured, and we were due to have a third crew member, but unfortunately, he had to drop out last minute. And we just didn't want to take just anyone as a third crew member either. We were quite keen on doing it, making it like our own experience. And
we're used to chucking ourselves in the deep end and having a steeper learning curve.
And you don't necessarily want to put someone else through, like, together, you two being a couple, how you can react to these things. If you have that unknown variable.
Well, the guy coming was someone that we know really well. He's a good friend of ours, so we were quite happy to have a good friend come with us. But when he dropped out, we were like, I'd rather just do it just the two of us than try and find someone else. But and obviously you go without insurance, you just think nothing will happen, but sometimes it might. And if it would have happened after Spain, we'd have been insured, but ultimately it didn't. So
it's what, get these things out of the way early, and then
exactly.
Exactly. I was going to ask a question on the back of that, but I can't remember what it is now, so I'll ask this one instead. After 35 years of sailing in the Solent, I have never been much farther than the Channel Islands because of work and family restraints. I think we've answered this, but how long do you think your freedom or your journey will continue? I mean, you don't have an end date, really, do you? As long as you're enjoying it, you'll keep going.
Yep, that's pretty much.
Yeah, I'd say exactly that.
Yeah, I think you listen to your own bodies. Like if you feel the need, you need to go and see some family, we can put this on hold and visit family for the holidays, and then get back to the adventure. We kind of put that kind of first, if that makes sense. Like how we have to be happy with what we're doing.
If there ever came a day where we're like, I'm actually just not enjoying it, then we wouldn't feel the need to keep doing it. We'd just do something else. But I know what we're like, and I think absolutely we will at least do this until we've done like the whole world.
Well, that's it. Like you say, you're generally only a flight home from most places.
Exactly.
You can get home easy enough
of course you can
from most places and stuff. So
whilst
it's working for you and you're enjoying it, why not crack
on?
With the work side of things, if we have to stop what we're doing and work, we will just do that as well. Like that's not an issue to us, because if we wasn't doing this, we'd be back at work anyway. So for us, it's that we're just enjoying this adventure, and then we would, if we need to stop and work, we will.
Yeah.
And well, and you're like Brett. I like again, Bryn. You're sort of a marine biologist.
So I'm a marine biologist, and I used to work with like sharks and stingrays and all different marine animals and stuff. So
carry on.
I was going to say, so I could potentially. It depends how long I'm away from it as to how relevant my skills still are.
Yeah.
But there is always the option. I really want to, as we travel, go to some research communities and places that are doing really good work. And to be honest, I'd happily volunteer just to get the experience and to help out someone who's trying to, make a bit of a difference and make things a little bit better for the oceans. So, but yeah, if that was something that was possible, that's always an option that I can always fall back into potentially. So, and yeah, how cool is it if you can just help the oceans?
No, I mean, as you're using them. I mean, it suddenly clicked to me then as you were saying it. I suppose it's unlikely that you'd find a paying position, but you could hop around these volunteer things and you might get something because of it. But yeah, that does make sense. I remember what I was going to ask now. On the back of your call out, has that mean that you came home earlier? Would you still be at the boat now and have come back in the new year? Or did you just feel like we're going to come home for Christmas? We might as well put the boat to bed for winter and come back and do what you're doing.
So we actually came back because of the 90-day thing again, the 90-day Schengen visa. So we used our 90 days up until like mid-October or end of October or something. I think we've got like 6 days left. But yeah, we used our 90 days, so we had to come back for at least 90 days.
Yeah.
Well, we could have pressed on to somewhere, as we said earlier, like Albania, Croatia, Tunisia, somewhere like that. But we just didn't want to, race that fast to get that far into the
We felt we raced quite quick already.
Yeah, so we were like, let's just leave it in Spain and we'll go back to the UK to reset. And then we had also run out of money. So these 90 days back home, we're trying to earn a bit of money and it's been really useful for that. So yeah, it's kind of worked.
It all ties in quite well. And we get to see our family over Christmas, which also is a really cool, nice thing as well.
No, that is good. I'm going to ask this last question, mainly because it's made me laugh. And I'm sure it's from one of your friends. Am I right that sharks only attack people when they're wet?
Who's that? Charlie. I actually don't know Charlie, but good question. Good question.
I would say that yes, because you'd have to be in the water for the shark to be able to attack.
There's your marine biologist answer right there.
Yeah, that's a very, very wise question.
I'm sorry. And there is loads of questions. I could be sat here all night asking questions, but I won't. I mean, this has been a real fun chat and getting to know you both over the last couple of weeks. It's been great. And hearing some of the behind the scenes information and some of the more challenging parts of your journey and what you've got in store for the future. It's just, it's been great for me. And like I say, I feel like we've had so much engagement that obviously a lot of people out there feel it's great for them as well. I just wanted to say before we say our goodbyes, on behalf of Force 4 and everyone else like here in our building and around us, just the best of luck with all of these adventures and keep doing what you're doing because it is great and it is very enjoyable to watch and this has been real fun.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
It's been brilliant to have a chat with you and get to know you as well.
Yeah, it's been brilliant.
So I'm sorry to all of the many people that ask questions out there. If you post them to the Facebook and YouTube, Force 4 and Chasing Currents will do their best to acknowledge you and everything else. Like, keep them coming. It's been great. Yeah. Jade, Bryn, thank you so much for coming and having a chat with us about your Chasing Currents adventure. It's been amazing.
Thanks for having us. It's been great. Yeah.
Loved it.
Elise out there, pictures, videos. Thank you for working behind the scenes, keeping this up and running. It's been great. Everyone out there watching, thank you for tuning in from Chasing Currents or from Force 4 for this chat. I hope you've enjoyed it. And again, to all of you watching, I just want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from Force 4 Chandler. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time. Free safe.